about a minute, we'll see you there.
Good afternoon. I'm Caroline Fox, the Supervisor of Elections. Today we'll be doing the casting of lot via live feed due to the coronavirus protocol. I'd like to introduce my staff. I'll start with the St. Croix District. We have Acting Deputy Supervisor Terrell Alexandra. We have the Senior Election Assistant, Ms. Hewlett Tadman Hodge, and the Election Assistant, Ms. Mary Felix. Here with me, I am in the St. Thomas District today. We have the Deputy Supervisor, Kiva May Douglas, the Senior Election Assistant, Ms. Milagritos Vincent, and our election worker, Sulika Pena. We'll be beginning in the St. Croix District because the delegate race is on St. Croix, both contestant, and the casting of lot is done in accordance with how the candidates filed their nomination petition. I thank you. I'll be turning it over now to Acting Deputy Supervisor Terrell Alexandra in St. Croix.
Good afternoon and welcome to the St. Croix District. We'll commence the casting of lots for the general election that's scheduled for November 3rd, 2020. Our first contest would be the delegate to Congress. We have two candidates running. Their names are Stacy Plaskett and Shikima M. George. Go ahead, Ms. Felix. Yeah. 1, 2. Our first candidate, Ms. Felix is going to give the box a good shake, will be Stacy Plaskett. One for Stacy Plaskett. So Shikima George will be number 2. Our next contest would be the legislature of the Virgin Islands at large. We only have one candidate, Stephen D. Payne Sr., and he'll be automatically the number 1. Moving along, Board of Education at large, Angel L. Bolquez, only one candidate, so he'll be the number 1. We move now to the legislature of the Virgin Islands St. Croix District. We have a total of 16 candidates running. They are Kurt Viale, Michael J. Springer, Samuel Sam Carrion, Novell E. Francis Jr., Franklin D. Johnson, Oakland Benta, Allison L. Digazon, John McCoy, Kenneth Kenny Gittins, Genevieve Whitaker, Alicia Chucky Hansen, Norman John Baptiste, Javon E. James, Devin Carrington, Clint D. W. Ferris, and J.P. Mornack Wainfield. Ms. Felix? Yeah. We're going to give the box a good shake again. Our first candidate will be Kurt Viale. $12 for Kurt Viale. Our next candidate, Michael J. Springer Jr. Number 4 for Michael J. Springer Jr. Our next candidate, Samuel Sam Carrion. 13 for Samuel Sam Carrion. Our next candidate, Novell E. Francis Jr. 17 for Novell E. Francis Jr. Franklin D. Johnson is our next candidate. Six for Franklin D. Johnson. Our next candidate is Oakland Benta. 14 for Oakland Benta. Allison L. Digazon is our next candidate. 10 for Allison Digazon. Our next candidate, John McCoy. Number 9 for John McCoy. Our next candidate is Kenneth Gittins. 16, Kenneth Gittins. Our next candidate is Genevieve Whitaker. Number 3 for Genevieve Whitaker. Our next candidate is Alicia Chucky Hansen. Number 11 for Alicia Chucky Hansen. Next is Norman John Baptiste. Number 8 for Norman John Baptiste. Our next candidate is Javon E. James. Number 2 for Javon E. James. Next candidate is Devin Carrington. Number 5 for Devin Carrington. Our next candidate is Clint D.W. Ferris. Number 7 for Clint W. Ferris. The last one is J.P. Mornack Wakefield. Number 15 for J.P. Mornack Wakefield. Our next contest is the Board of Education. The candidates are Mary L. Moorhead, Marshall A. Webster, Shauna K. Richards, Emanuela Perez. Our first candidate is Mary L. Moorhead. Number 2 for Mary L. Moorhead. Marshall A. Webster Sr. is our next candidate. Number 4 for Marshall A. Webster Sr. Our next candidate is Shauna K. Richards. Shauna K. Richards is number 3. Our next candidate is Emanuela Perez. She's 5. Number 5 for Emanuela Perez. Our next contest is Board of Elections, St. Croix District. Board of Elections, the candidates are Liliana Bellado O'Neill, Epiphane Joe Johnson, Lisa Harris Mohead, and Glenn Webster. The first candidate is Liliana Bellado O'Neill. Thank you. Number 1 for Liliana Bellado O'Neill. Our next candidate is Epiphane Joe Johnson. Number 2 for Epiphane Joe Johnson. Three for Lisa Harris Mohead, which means Glenn Webster would be number 4. Thank you very much for tuning in to the 2020 general election casting a lot. I'd first like to thank the staff who's present, our senior election assistant, Miss Yulette Hodge, our election assistant, Miss Marie Felix. Now I'll turn it over to Miss Kiva May Douglas, the Deputy Supervisor in the St. Thomas St. John District. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Welcome again to the 2020 general elections casting of the lots. We're here back at the St. Thomas office. With me this afternoon is my senior elections assistant, Ms. Milagritos Venzen, who will be assisting me. We're going to go right into the casting for our district. We're going to begin with the legislature of the Virgin Islands at large. The candidate is Stephen D. Payne Sr. That seat is uncontested, and so he will automatically be given the number 1. Next will be the legislature of the Virgin Islands. The first candidate is Stedman Hodge Jr. So Ms. Venzen has placed the numbers in the box, and she's going to begin polling.
Number 3.
Stedman Hodge Jr., the number 3. The next candidate is Atneal Bobby Thomas.
Number 8.
Number 8 for Atneal Bobby Thomas. Next candidate is Jonathan P. Tucker Jr.
Number 12.
Number 12, Jonathan P. Tucker Jr. Next is Dwayne M. DeGraff.
Number 5.
And number 5 for Dwayne M. DeGraff. Our next candidate is Ray Fonseca.
Number 6.
The number 6, Ray Fonseca, number 6. Next is Janelle K. Saru.
Number 13.
Number 13, Janelle K. Saru, number 13. We're just giving our box a little shake. The next candidate is Wayne Faxman Adams.
Number 10.
Number 10, Wayne Faxman Adams, number 10. Next is Alma Francis Heiliger.
Number 9.
Number 9, Alma Francis Heiliger, number 9. Next candidate is Irvin Pudna Mason, Senior.
Number 14.
Number 14, Irvin Mason, Senior, number 14. Next candidate is Milton E. Potter.
Number 15.
Milton E. Potter, number 15. Up next is Donna Fred Gregory.
Number 7.
Number 7, Donna Fred Gregory, number 7. And the next candidate is Marvin Blyden.
Number 2.
Marvin Blyden, number 2. Marvin Blyden. Next is Carla Joseph. Carla Joseph.
Number 11.
Number 11, Carla Joseph. And the next candidate is Stephen Smokey Fret.
Number 4.
He has number 4. Number 4, Stephen Smokey Fret. We move right into our next contest, and that is for the Board of Education. We're going to begin with Kaiser A. Calwood. Ms. Venzen is going to place the numbers in the box, and then we'll begin pulling them. The box has been emptied, and so she's going to place the numbers for the next contest. So I'm going to give it a little shake, make sure everything is shifted a little bit.
Number 2.
Number 2, Kaiser A. Calwood is number 2. Next is Nandi Seku Esquire. Nandi Seku Esquire for the Board of Education.
Number 3.
Number 3, Nandi Seku, number 3. The next candidate is Eugene Farrell. Eugene Farrell.
First, number 1.
Number 1, Eugene Farrell, number 1. And so the other contest now is the Board of Education at Large. That seat is uncontested, and so candidate Angel L. Bolkes Jr., he will automatically be assigned to number 1. We move right along into the Board of Elections. The box has been emptied. Ms. Venzen will then place all of the numbers in the bin. The first candidate is Lydia A. Hendricks, the Board of Elections.
Number 4.
Number 4, Lydia A. Hendricks. Next is Miss Sheena George Isanison. Sheena George Isanison.
Number 2.
Number 2, Sheena George Isanison, number 2. Up next is Miss Alicia M. Wells. Alicia M. Wells.
Number 1.
Number 1, Alicia M. Wells. And the next candidate is Arturo Watlington Jr. Arturo Watlington Jr.
Number 3.
And he is number 3. Arturo Watlington Jr., number 3. And so this concludes the 2020 general elections casting of the lots. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. You can view our live stream of today's events at WTJX.org. You can also visit the Virgin Islands Election System Facebook page at www.vivote.gov. You can like us on Facebook. We also encourage you to stay tuned to all of the updated election information, which will be on our Facebook page, on our website, vivote.gov. All updated and current general elections information you will find at our Facebook page and website. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the staff for being part of this event today and the Supervisor of Elections, Ms. Caroline Fox, for joining us here on St. Thomas. Thank you.